Hey guys, welcome to the Daily Word Bible Study, a plain and simple, book by book, chapter by chapter, verse by verse study through the entire Bible. We're in Proverbs chapter 22. And these chapters, 20, 22, 23, have some, as you can see, I'm taking my time kind of going through some of these Proverbs because they're so relevant for us today. And as I said before, the wisdom God gives us, the wise counsel, is wisdom that we can put into our lives. Just like when he says that he who guards his mouth will keep himself out of trouble. See, that's something we could take, and I wish I had it. But I wish I was more cognitive of it, because sometimes I still open my mouth and get into trouble. Like all of us, sometimes we can open our mouth and get more into trouble. All right, so let's get into it. Proverbs chapter 22 and in verse 1 it says, "A good name is to be chosen over great wealth. Favor is better than silver and gold." Now, again, a lot of ways you can apply this. And now, what's kind of interesting is, remember, these are general statements because right away I'm thinking about a celebrity that doesn't have a good name and he's doing very well. Although there, some of his actions seem to be catching up with him. Anyway, he says, "A good name is to be chosen over great wealth. Favor is better than silver." I would rather have a good name than good wealth. I don't have great wealth now, but I can tell you what, if the in my mindset, if I were to acquire good wealth, I would still rather have a good name. Verse 2. "The rich and the poor have this in common: the Lord made them both." True, right? Nothing more to be said to that. "A sensible person sees dangers and takes cover, but the inexperienced keep going and are punished." Now that's right away. I'm thinking about, you go to some of these YouTube pictures, and before YouTube, there used to be videos, American funny videos, or just news videos where you see people, you see people that'll see a bear coming towards them and like, "Oh, look at the nice little bear," and get mauled. That's just an example there, right? A sensible person sees danger and takes cover, right? You see people that will see tornadoes, right? What they call them, storm chasers, just to get the photo. All right, verse 4. "The result of humility is to fear the Lord, along with wealth, honor, and life." Now, this is probably, Solomon is the epitome of this. But notice he says, because remember when the Lord asked him, "What can I do for you?" He didn't ask for wealth, he didn't ask for revenge, he asked for wisdom to guide the nation. But notice he said, the result of humility is the fear of the Lord, the result of that. If you're haughty, you won't have the reverence of God. You would think your own way is better, your sinful ways. Verse 5, "There are thorns and a snare on the path of the crooked, and the one who guards himself stays far from it." And again, that's just wisdom here. Staying away from what? The crooked path. The crooked path results in heartaches. So think about that. Heartaches. Could we reverse a lot of the bad decisions we made? Oh, how we wish we could. Verse 6. Teach a youth about the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Now, this here, um, this here, so let me read this how in the King James. So I'm reading from the Holman Christian Standard Bible. So in fact, let me do this. Uh, let me do this so you can see it here. Uh-huh. All right, let's do it this way. I got this, I like this app here. Um, oh, all right. Okay. All right. So right here in the English Standard Version. All right. So this is the way we mostly know this verse here. Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Now, this becomes sort of a guide to raising kids. Now, notice he says train up a child, and so you can look at the term train. So, what does the word train mean, right? How do you define train? So, it says train up a child in the way he should go. So, this is a good principle, a good command, a good impart of wisdom for you parents. Train up a child in the way he should go. So now, how do you what is the word should? Now, there's something just for training itself. I'm going to give you an example of this. When you think about the Amish, now the Amish are one of the most religious people, foolish religion. The way they think, it's not biblical, but they are very good-hearted people. So one of the things is that they push back against worldly ways. That's really what the whole thing is, worldliness. So modern amenities they don't have, which is again this religion, foolishness of religion. At some point, you could even say the horse buggy when it wasn't that modern to when it was invented. But I digress. But they're so backwards now. Like, so my thing is that what is amazing is they have this crazy thing where they say, okay, at 18, they go out and live it up for a year. Now, who came up with that? Okay, but they, but here's the amazing thing. So the kids can go out, live it up, right? They go out, and for a year, they sin. Okay, crazy. Go to nightclubs, get a boyfriend, get a girlfriend, whatever, right? And then after a year, they can decide if they're going to come back. Do you know what is amazing? That most of them come back. Well, I should say a lot of them come back. Some stay out, but a lot of them come back. Crazy. But the reason why is because of how they were trained. Train up a child in the way they should go. When you are trained in something, it is extremely hard to break. For example, if you potty train your kids, then and that's good, right? That's because you don't want them to squat in the middle of the store and take a dump. So you train them to hold it. You train them to go to the toilet to use the bathroom. That's good training. Okay. So he said, train the child up in the way he should go, and he says, even when he's old, he will not depart from it. So people were so people were it'd be hard for people to depart from how they was training. Now, here's what he's saying here. You train them in the way they should go. So now let's answer the question, how should they go? Here's what he's not saying. Train them up in your denominational way. Train them. It's kind of interesting. Before I became a Christian, my denominational way was the Church of God in Christ, Pentecostal holiness. My thought was that if I don't. And at the time, you have to understand something. At the time, holiness doctrine, holiness teaching, what they said was worldly was bell bottoms, the way you dress, the flashiness of the styles, even having the big afros, as we call them natural, but afros. They said that was worldly, so that's why if you saw a holiness person, they would have the dullest suits, no fashion, you know, and haircuts, and women wear long skirts with no makeup, and they said that's holiness. But if you were trained in that, that's what you thought coming to God would have been. So my point is that what he is not talking about is what man's way. Although, see, the train part, the training up your child the way he should go, that part still is in effect. If you train them in a certain way, that's why I said one of the most amazing things that Amish, a lot of those Amish, when they go off their year or whatever they call that year, they go back because they think that's the way to go back to God, and that's the sad part. So the question here is that train the child up in the way you should go. Now, this is also the difference between raising a kid according to modern psychology and a godly child or godliness. So our opinions are different because there's the modern psychology which has no clue. They don't produce godly kids, and that's what you need to understand. One of the things that's being pushed right now is seeing a therapist. So now you have 14-year-olds seeing therapists because that's the way of the world. It's not the way of God, it's the way of the world. Now, as parents, however, you should train your children up in the way they should go, which means you should first know the way they should go yourself, which means you should be going that way yourself. Now, as I said, a lot of times with people, and where this falls apart is the idea that uh, what people think about Christianity. See, what people think about Christianity. That's the unfortunate thing right now, that people think in terms of Christianity, people think that their denomination. They think, well, my denomination is the way to go, and that's unfortunate because that's not what um, um, he's talking about here. He says, train up a child in the way he should go. Now, the way he should go is the way of God, God's way. So the first thing is Jesus Christ, believing on Jesus Christ. That's the way he should go. You should train him up. Then what? Then all of this wisdom that Solomon's given is one of the ways he should go. So he says, train up a child in the way he should go, and even when he was old, he would not depart from it. If you train your child up in a worldly way, then chances are they won't depart from it. You have children today that think, well, since I go to school and I'm going to do better than my parents, and that is true. You should do better than your parents. I think parents want you to do better than them. Now, there are parents that get jealous of their kids. I think in general, your parents want you to do better. That's why a lot of times they will sacrifice and, send you to college, pay for you to go to college because they want you to do better. So when you think about, again, but there's this attitude that we're going to do it better, and that means they're applying the ways of the world. So now we can look at what we see today with a lot of kids. when you turn on the news and you see mobs of kids storming the downtown area, there's a politics behind that. I'm not going to get into politics behind that. But I'm looking at here is the fact that you had a mob of kids storming a downtown area, wreaking terror and havoc. Now watch this. So then you have a new mayor that comes and says, don't demonize the kids. So what kind of training does that leader now wants to do? See, if you let those kids get away with what they should be punished. The kids should be punished without a doubt. And like I say, there's the politics to that, which I won't get into. I'm just looking at the very fact that the actions themselves. Now, that new mayor said, don't demonize their kids. You never know how disenfranchised they are. My retort to that is, how do you know that those kids are disenfranchised? They were just out being bad. They were being a mob. They were being criminals. And even if they are disenfranchised, that action doesn't in any kind of way deserves or need to be covered up. Those kids wasn't trained. And then they should pay for their actions. And paying for their actions is part of training them. So let's say you have that mob, and if you just Google it, and it'll come up. Hundreds of kids. Now, not all hundreds that were there were tearing up. Not all hundreds that were there doing damage, but they were there. And if the police had done their job, which they didn't, those kids could have gotten in trouble. Part of that would have been, I don't need to hang with this crowd. Part of training, and we even saw it in one of the wisdoms of Solomon here, is that part of it was you should not run with evil people. So in other words, even if the majority of the crowd were not wreaking the havoc, then let's say the majority of the crowd, you shouldn't have been there. When it turned and went wrong, you should have went this way. Let's talk about grown up. See, people want to demonize those kids. How about the January 6th crowd? Now they're not kids, right? But how were they trained? Notice if they were trained up in the way that they should go, and they were always taught patriotism, they were always taught love, respect, authority, respect police, then why did they storm the Capitol, damage the Capitol, attack police? Just to be fair. Anyway, train up a child in the way it should go. Now, part of the training, and here's the thing that we need to understand, what he's not talking about, because sometimes when I was growing up, that always translated, well, beat the crap out of your kids. No, discipline is only one part of the training. Discipline is only one part of the training. And I'm going to say the most effective part of the training is at a certain age. Part of the training is teaching your children, instructing them, which means you have to be present in their life in order to affect the training. You also have to nurture them. See, notice you're training them in the way they should go. So as sinful beings, we need to be trained. As sinful beings coming into the world, our bodies is trying to pull us in a certain way. So there's certain inclinations that we can have. The training guides us in the way it should go, and instead of the sinful way we should go, that we want to go, that our flesh is trying to pull from us. So yes, training, teaching, instruction, nurturing them. That nurturing gives them the assurance, the love, and then also the discipline. So if you do the first two, you're going to do a lot less discipline. Okay? So then he says, train up a child in the way it should go. The biggest thing about parenting is being there. Because if you're there, you can see. You should be. If you're there, you're looking, right? So the responsibility of parents, the responsibility is you need to train up your child in the way it should go. Now, so the Holman uh, standard says teach a youth about the way he should go, even when he's old, he's not to depart from it. So I won't scrabble over the different translations, okay? But I just wanted to come from the translations from which we are most familiar with. Train up a child in the way he should go. So the other question now comes down to who does the training? Think about who does the training. Well, the first order would be parents, not children's church. Children's church can be part of it. School and teaching, learning should be a part of it, but the most important part are parents. And again, that requires parents to know what they're doing themselves. All right, guys. Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comment section below. All comments are welcome. See you in the next study.